your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. This is Medkits and Bug Out Bags. I'm Josh Ward, and this is P&W Tactical. So today we're talking about medkits and bug out bags. And I know some of you might be wondering what a bug out bag is. Basically what a bug out bag is a pre-prepared bag that you can use for any instance where you need to grab and go. So if it's a natural disaster, civil unrest, or even just a pregnancy, you can have bug out bags ready to go. So basically they're pre-packed bags that have all the essentials that you need for the given situation. Obviously for natural disasters or civil unrest where you feel the need to get out and be safe, you're going to take much different items than say if you were pre-planning for a pregnancy. Obviously you're going to have changes of clothes, things like that, which go across all the boards of natural disaster, civil unrest, or even pregnancy. But we're going to be talking more about the natural disaster or the civil unrest sides to be more tactically prepared for when these things happen. So I have two bug out bags. Both serve a purpose, and one is more of an everything bug out bag, so it has more generalized items. So when I pack a bug out bag, I pack for cold weather. The reason why I pack for cold weather is because if it's warm outside, you can always take clothing off to cool yourself. But if you don't pack for cold weather, even though it may be 70, 80 degrees during the day, it does get cooler at night, and you can actually go hypothermic even though it may only be 60 degrees at night. But having a 20-degree temperature shift between the daylight hours and the nighttime hours, you'll get cold very quickly. So I always plan to pack cold weather gear and something that's potentially rainproof. So here in the Pacific Northwest, we get rain a lot, as you guys know. So having a waterproof jacket on top of clothes that are warm and that either wick away moisture or that are waterproof themselves. You can get some items such as frog gear, which is basically fits like a sauna suit, but it is waterproof. The only issue that I have with the frog gear is that it is not super durable. So if you're trying to hike in frog gear or go cross country, it can get snagged and torn very, very easily. But if you're just trying to stay dry and potentially stay warm, frog gear is a good tool to have. Now, in my bag, I have several things, and I'll kind of unpack it for you just so that you can see. So a few things that I have here in my bag are an extra set of shoes, some that are going to be comfortable, or if you're wearing your comfortable, say tennis shoes, when you need to bug out, having a pair of hiking boots or something that is going to be a little bit more durable and rugged in your bag is a very good thing to have. So, first things first is the shoes. So I am wearing my hiking boots today, but a pair of tennis shoes just in case if you are walking through a cityscape or something like that. Not to say that there's going to be a zombie apocalypse, but most of those movies happen in a city, and I would rather be wearing these walking on the pavement than I would wearing hiking boots walking on the pavement. And then secondly, what I have is a cover of some sort. So I'm almost always wearing a ball cap, but just in case it does get cold, having a beanie or a stocking cap is a very effective tool to have because you lose 75% of your heat from your neck and your head. So keeping yourself warm is going to be a priority, especially if you have to bug out. And then what I have here is my very fluorescent waterproof shell. So this is a Columbia shell, waterproof. It doesn't really keep you warm. It's more of a windbreaker style, but it is waterproof, so you can build this with layers. So you do your base layers, which are going to be your warmest. Having long johns or even Under Armour, cold gear Under Armour is a good way to be. And then stacking your clothes on top of that. So having a normal t-shirt, then a sweatshirt, and then this shell is going to keep you very warm and very dry. So then just kind of building down in the layers, I have a Under Armour sweatshirt that is part of their Storm series. So this is actually water repellent material. Now, they do say that if you wash and dry this too many times that it will lessen the effect of the waterproofing. I've only washed this a handful of times, but that's because I don't wear it in a sense where I'm going to get extremely dirty or it's in another layer down below, so it doesn't, you know, doesn't get blood or mud or dirt on it as often. I've worn this hunting, so it does keep me dry, does keep me warm, and it's very comfortable. And then lastly, I've got an oversized set of pants that are obviously camouflage. Most of my stuff is for hunting, but serves a dual purpose of being able to be put into my bug out bag. So these are a little bit oversized, so that if I needed to, I could just pull them over what I'm wearing right now. And they have a wide leg, so that you don't even have to take your shoes or your boots off. And what I like about these is that they are a same material as the Storm Series sweatshirt, but made a little bit differently as far as the composition of the fabric, because they're made to be more tear resistant. They don't catch all the burrs and all the little sticky and pokies that you might get through by walking through brush. These are also made by Under Armour. I think I actually got these off of like a discount rack at TJ Maxx. So you can find this stuff for really, really cheap if you shop at those discount stores. Now, other things that you would want to have in your bag is potentially food items. I don't have any in this bag because I just prepped it for this video, but you can get ready-to-eat meals, or MREs, from tons of different places. I think you can even get them at Walmart now, because that's kind of a craze for camping people to have just freeze-dried foods and things like that. Having some non-perishable items in your bag is always a good thing, just in case you do go without having a meal. You know, if there is civil unrest or if there is a natural disaster, you can't just pull through McDonald's, really. I have these leads of rope, which this rope is actually from when I used to work at a mill. This was the carrier rope that carried the belt that carries the paper. And what we do is, you can see these little floofy spots, is this is actually two pieces of rope spliced together, so they're actually inside one another, but they don't separate. So you can use these as leads, you can use them as toe straps, you can even use them as climbing anchors if you wanted to. All you would have to do is just burn your ends, splice them together in some way, or tie them into a D-ring, and then you could use it as an anchor. And I have several of these in here. I think I have 4 in here, just for that purpose alone, of being able to use them, splice them together. So with these, you can use these for several different things, whether it's being used as an anchor for climbing, a toe strap, anything like that. I keep these in my bag, so I have them at all times, and they're good for pretty much any kind of usage. Next, I do have a smaller roll of, not necessarily twine, it's just thinner rope. You could do 550 cord or paracord if you wanted to use that. This is just it used to look nicer, but this is just stuff that we have in abundance around the house, and especially at my parents' house. Because my mom does a lot of crafts, she has a lot of rope and things, but being able to use this to tie down gear, tie people together in the sense of, if you're bugging out with a group and say you're on foot going out at night, being able to put a loop through everybody so that you can stay in contact with everyone is a good way to go. This rope is actually really durable too, so you could use it to potentially climb. I probably wouldn't suggest it because it is very thin. Tensile strength is good, but trying to grip this with cold or wet hands is going to be very, very rough. But you can use this to tie down shelter, anything like that, and as long as you keep a lighter on you, you can cut it off and burn the ends, and you're not going to have a fraying issue. And then the last 3 important things in my bag that I always keep on top and ready for access is a good flashlight, which this has multiple features. This one just runs off of AA's, which I understand that in a survival situation or a bug out situation, batteries may not be accessible, but keeping some extras in your bag may not be a bad idea. But this just runs off of AA's. This has a single beam, has a strobe, so you could potentially signal for help if you needed to, or it has a clip on it so you could attach it to your harness on your bag, and then at least it illuminates the trail down below so you kind of can see where your feet are at, or just using it like a typical flashlight to try and see where you're going, flashing it out in front of you. The second thing that I have in my bag is a knife. We talk about knives all the time, and a lot of everything that we're going to be talking about in this channel is going to be going back to that first video. And if you didn't watch that first video, it was 10 tactical tips to everyday life. We'll put a link kind of down below here just so that you guys can see that, or it'll be at the end of the video as well. But having a knife in your bag so that if for whatever reason you don't have a knife on your person, you at least know that you have a good knife on your bag that can be used. And then the last thing that I have is a compass. So this compass, as you can see, it's a pretty cheap tool, but it works. I think I got this for like $7 at Walmart. A lot of this stuff is really inexpensive, but super effective. And that's a lot of what you want, because if you don't want to, I mean, we never know when a disaster is going to strike. So investing a bunch of money into something that may sit there for months or years may not be the best way to manage your money, or just be the best practice overall. So finding things that work, that are relatively cheap, is kind of the best way to go, at least for this bug out bag. So the last thing, at least for this bug out bag, that I wanted to talk about is the bag itself. So this was a fairly inexpensive bag. As you can see, it's got some of the molly webbing on the outside. This is an SOG branded bag. I think I paid like $29.99 for this at Walmart. Really cheap, really inexpensive. It does have a place for running a camelback water tube out of the tops of the handles here. So if you do want to do that, it does have zipper pouches on the inside to keep that. But just a really big, lightweight, expandable bag that you can use for basically any situation. And then the other bag that I have is the same branded bag, same style of bag, just a different color. So we'll break into that bag here in just a second. So my second bug out bag is something that's not as necessary for an absolute emergency, but what this bag does contain is all of my tactical gear. So it has my TACT rig or my vest, has holsters, has gloves, knee pads, elbow pads, has my e-tool, has a machete, has a bunch of knives. Basically anybody that I bug out with, I have a knife for in this bag. So we'll kind of unpack it a little bit. It's not as essential and not as necessary, but this is a bag that I would take with me in an instance of kind of world-ending scenarios or civil unrest scenarios where you may come up against armed combatants, where you would want to be tactically prepared. So like I said, this is non-essential for everyone, but for someone that has training and someone that is going to want to protect people or be prepared for those potential combat situations, this is a bag that is, in my mind, necessary, at least for me, but not for everyone. So my TACT rig, a kukri, which is a machete. This is kind of a nice camp tool. It's got some jimping on the bottom here for like a rope saw. You could also use that to bust a window if you absolutely needed to. But this is a kukri. This is also SOG branded. They actually make pretty decent stuff that's fairly inexpensive. I think I paid 40 bucks for this at Walmart. But it's a good blade. Gives you a little bit more of an ergonomic chopping motion rather than a traditional machete, and then also has a nice saw on the back, so it's kind of an all-around good camp knife that you can use. So then I have my e-tool. So this serves as a shovel and also has a small hatchet head, so you can use this to obviously dig holes or even just dig a hole to squat in if you needed to. But then it also does have the hatchet head, so you can split wood to create a fire. And then next I have a pair of gloves. Now these aren't traditional working gloves. These are meant to be more tactical or more combative gloves. They have a carbon fiber knuckle, so that if there is a physical altercation, I pack a little bit more of a punch. But they are durable and will protect your hands, keep your hands warm in situations where you may be cold. And then next I have, it's a or thigh saddle bag. So normally I would load this up with meds, just so that I can have easy access to it, in the sense of you know, having a tourniquet, having bandages, gauze, things like that, so that it's ready and easy access. Even has places for like a flashlight. In the olden days, you could fit a cell phone in here, but not anymore. But you could put a lighter or matches, something in there. But basically what this does is this will go around your waist, and then you've got another loop here that goes around your thigh, so it'll hang basically like this. I don't know if you can see that on there. So it'll hang off your hip, down your thigh, it stays secure, and it just allows you to carry a load a little bit differently rather than carrying it all on your back. Then of course, lastly, we come to all of the knives that I have. I've got tons of blades. This is a Schrade hunting knife. It's kind of crude. This one's a little bit thicker and more of a blunt tool, but in a pinch it'll do for pretty much anything that you need to do. It's got a thick spine, so you can baton it into wood if you do need to split wood if you don't have an e-tool. So finding a good knife that is a longer blade, at least 6 inches, for your camp knife or your bag knife. You could attach it to the strap of your bag here with the handle facing down so it's easier access. For any reason you get hung up, anything like that, you have a knife that you don't have to try and dig in your pocket for, you can just grab it off your bag, cut yourself loose, and you're mobile again. And did I say I had knives? I've got some more knives. Some of these are just cheap knives that are really just for everything. Some of these are throwaway knives, like these are mossy oak knives, not the highest quality, but they do serve a purpose. Has a decent little blade on it with a gut hook and a ring through it, so you could tie a lanyard from it to your hand if you absolutely needed to, if you're trying to chop anything. Does have a thick spine and a nice bevel here, so you can baton it if you do need to chop wood. The gut hook is nice if you do end up having to stay off the grid for some period of time. You can actually use this for hunting to field dress a deer or whatever you end up shooting. Did I say I had knives? I've got pocket knives for about every person that I could ever run into that I would trust to be in my party. I've got knives upon knives upon knives, and you'll see a majority of these laid out on our Instagram, so be sure to check that out. So that was my tactical bug out bag, and as I said, it's the same bag as the previous bag, just obviously it's a desert multicam digital camouflage. Like I said, I think I got it for $29.99 at Walmart, SOG brand, and you can see the amount of stuff that I can pack into this bag. You know, I could give you a side profile of how big this bag is. And it has comfortable straps with coating on the straps, so you can hook things to it. One thing that I didn't show you on my other bag is I do have a D-ring with my Camelback water bottle hanging off of it, so that's easy access as well. And that just makes it so you don't have to dig through your bag just to get to your essential water. Okay, so lastly we have the med kit. So this is a med kit that I keep in my car. As you can see here, it's fairly small and compact. This is just a little, it's actually a fishing bag. It's not actually meant to be a medical bag. But this is a fishing bag that I think I got from Academy, or you can pick it up at your, local Sportsman's or local sporting goods store. The reason I got this bag is because it has the hard cases inside that are meant for like hooks and lures and things like that. But I used it for bandages and my medical supplies. So really small, compact, easy to fit kind of behind your seat, or if you have a truck under your seat. And it's just a good thing to keep with you because you never know when accidents are going to happen, especially driving. I mean, more people die in car accidents a year than really anything else. So having this in your car, even if it's not you that is in the accident, you can at least stop and try and help someone if you have the medical training. So as we unbag this, there's a couple of things that are important for this bag, and I'll show them first, and then we'll kind of break down the bag as we go through it. But one of the most important things is a good pair of shears. I think you can get these for like $12 online. Good cheap shears that you can use. So this is for cutting off clothing, so that if there is a wound that you can't see that is below clothing, all you have to do is just cut it off with these. It's quicker and easier than trying to tear something or pulling out your knife and potentially cutting yourself or someone else. And then the second thing that I like to have is this. And I know you can't really see it, see what it is on camera, but this is a tourniquet. And I know in my previous video I talked about wearing a belt and things like that. Wearing a belt is a good practice and can be used as a tourniquet, but it is proven to not be as effective as a tourniquet. Obviously, tourniquets are made for that, belts are made for keeping your pants up. But in a pinch, your belt will work. But in the instance of me, I do in fact have a tourniquet in my bag, and don't skimp on these. These can save a life, and I would say only get them from an accredited source, because there are some out there that they will basically just sell you almost like my leads of rope with a rubber band on one end, and you just paid $60 for a piece of rope. So finding it from an accredited source and getting them, and I would say get more than one so that you can open one and practice with it, so you can practice proper application. And practicing on yourself and on other people is a very good thing. Now, obviously, as a disclaimer, you don't apply this to a neck wound. If you do apply this, please, please, please practice. And there's plenty of videos online of how to apply a tourniquet, or you can even pick up pamphlets or things like that from your local doctor's offices. These are a tool, but they can cause more harm than good if you don't know how to use them. So please train, practice, and know how to use these if you have to use them. So as we break down the bag more, I've got some real high-tech stuff here. A Ziploc bag with Band-Aids in it. You never know when you're going to need a Band-Aid. So we got a Ziploc bag full of Band-Aids. And I've got some 3x3 gauze pads. So we've got a bunch of these shoved in here. And a lot of what I have in this bag is trying to just cover everything. I have Band-Aids, I have ibuprofen, I even have like antacid medicine, so I have like ranitidine in a bottle just to cover anything, especially if you're going on long road trips. Making sure that you have everything that you need so you don't have to stop and try and buy it later is a good thing to have. And especially if you're like me, where I like to eat and drink on those road trips, you get a little heartburn, all you have to do is reach into your trusty little med bag behind the seat, grab yourself some antacid, and you're good to go again. You don't have to try and stop at a gas station and hope that there's going to be some there. So box number one has some like cortisone cream, some Zap-Zit, has some more antacids in here, Band-Aids, things like that. And if this was a little bit more organized, this got dumped in my car, so I kind of just shoved everything back in here and zipped it closed. But if this was a little bit more organized, I could have all these sections filled and have it just looking a little bit more clean. But this is kind of the way that it lives in my car, so I didn't want to doctor it for the video. So I have a large gauze roll and pack. I have several different kinds of tape. I have an ACE wrap for if there is any sort of sprain, or if you just need to hold a larger bandage on if it's an abdomen wound that is not fatal but is actively bleeding. You can put a gauze on it, wrap it with the ACE wrap to hold that gauze in place. So I have some more antacid inside the bag as well as outside the bag. I have just tons of gauze. I have alcohol swabs in here. And then what I also have is a pair of old snips. These are more of a old school style shear, but the good thing about these is they're completely stainless, and you can even use these to cut skin if you needed to, if an instance arose. So if you have a large wound or something that is impacted, you can actually try and cut away some of the skin to get to what's underneath. And then I have some just everyday items. So I have like a package of Kleenex that's still unopened because I've got pants on, so I don't need Kleenex. And then I have another knife, and this is made by CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool. And this one is a knife that's made with surgical steel, so it's actually pretty good. You would just have to heat it up to sterilize if you needed to. But I keep that in my bag for the just in cases. Then I even have eye drops, some more acid reducer. So if you get heartburn and you're on a road trip with me, I got you covered. And then I even have a baggie of, if I can get it out, rubber gloves. So I know that these are a hot commodity right now with COVID and everything that's going on. These have been in my bag for as long as I've had the bag, pretty much. And this is about half a box of gloves that are just kind of folded and pushed into this bag. But at least I can protect myself if I do have to stop and if I'm a first responder. And that's basically the gist of the medical bag. I do want to kind of caution you guys in the sense of, if you're not a licensed first responder, making a call is just as helpful as actually stopping. I would warn you that if you're not a first responder, don't try to apply medical help to a person in need. Obviously, if you do have CPR training or things like that, you should be required to stop if you are a first responder or you're a witness to an accident. But be safe and be careful with the practices that you do practice, and just keep yourself safe more than anything. And like I said, making a call can be just as effective in saving someone's life than going out and trying to apply medical treatment. So that is it for med kits and bug out bags. And if you guys want to see more in depth into some of the things that we do, follow us on Instagram, and we also have links to our YouTube there as well. If you are looking for anything tactical or firearms related, be sure to check out 3 Aces LLC. They have Facebook and Instagram, or if you're in the Spokane area, you can check out their storefront. Their links will be in the description down below. So please be safe out there. I know that there's a lot of craziness going on in the world, but if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when we put out all of our videos. And once again, I'm Josh Ward, and this is PNW Tactical.